right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the BGE Cloud podcast. You are joining me on a Monday. It's a little different today. I'm not sipping tea, but I do have a guest. So this is another episode of Monday, It's You Again, and I am honored to have the beautiful Euphoria with me. And not to be mistaken for the HBO show. Don't do that to
Yes,
us.
definitely
Okay, please don't. But me and this beautiful woman, we met years ago. God, has it really been?
About 5-ish years ago.
Goodness
or
gracious. Yeah, 5 or 6 years ago, on the beautiful sales floor of Ulta Beauty. And I am so excited to catch up with this young lady. We haven't seen, we've seen each other on social media, but we haven't chatted in years. And I just want to give you a heads up. This woman is doing some incredible things with her platform. I will be sure to post all of her socials where you can follow her, as long as she's comfortable with that, online. So
I put myself out there.
Right?
So
what she's doing and all of the great ways that she's trying to put forth a positive impact on this world. So Euphoria.
Yes.
Hello. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I was very honored. I'm like, I get to be on the Big Goddess Energy podcast. I'm like, this is my first podcast ever, by the way, too. So yeah, I'm really happy. I'm so happy to be able to talk to you because, we haven't talked in a long time, but we've had that connection and we've always been on the same wavelength, and I'm excited. So yeah, my name is Euphoria, and I am just going through life and learning new things and hoping that my experience sharing that is going to be something that helps women who necessarily they feel like they're doing okay in life, but there's just something missing, and they're just trying to feel that complete fulfillment and step into their authentic self and really just dive into the life that they are meant to live. And that's my motto. That's what we're here to do.
My mantra. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's very important, and I think it's actually really special to kind of live the life you live. So just so you guys know, when Euphoria and I met, we were on the manager team, or training technically to be a part of the management team for a brand new
building the store from the ground up,
from the ground up. And boy, we went through quite a few managers.
Yes.
Between the time we started training and the time we actually opened the doors.
Yeah.
And that in itself was an adventure. Our boss at the time was Carlene, who's great.
Yeah.
And she vetted us to help host. Remember the Hunger Games? That was
Arlene
so crazy.
Was she was a boss for sure.
And she's dominating right now, with her social media presence, and I think she has her own little Amazon storefront and everything like that. So she's killing it.
Yeah.
But she, went on, excelled in Ulta, and got major success there, and then was kind of and now I'm going to be a full-time influencer. And
exactly.
Great.
Which is not unexpected, because she was very me and her. We are both Tauruses, so I see that vibe. She just her work ethic just alone. I'm just that she deserves to be there. She did it. So
I was of course inspired by her when we worked together, and then when I left Ulta, I don't think too long after you.
Really? Not too long? I know I left pretty quickly after, but
I had a couple of things happen before I left Ulta, and I just had to make a decision for me. But yeah, I went through a messy breakup, and
I remember that. I don't remember if we were together, like if we were still
no,
like
we got together. We
connected
went to
or.
breakfast with Shannon.
Oh yeah. And
Yes.
yeah, was that during the time? Because I
Yeah.
remember it, but I can't. And I remember Apollo.
Oh my God. Yeah, he's here. He says hello.
Yes. I'm like,
Uh,
it's been a long time.
yeah, he's 9.
Wow. That's, yeah. He was like a little puppy. I remember sitting in your car and like us talking in your car and stuff. Like that's what, whenever I meet someone that's willing to sit and just have conversation, like that is my stuff, and that's why I'm like, another reason why us having this conversation, I'm like, just turn on the camera, I'm ready to talk because we can talk.
We can do it, right?
Yeah, like we can talk.
I am so that way, and I just really appreciate like dialogue,
Yeah,
so especially, and you mentioned being a Taurus. I'm very much so a Libra, so
I'm a Libra moon.
I don't think I have any chart. I don't have any Taurus in my big 3. So
yeah.
I'm like I like to tell people I am a.
Do you have Leo?
I'm a perfectionist, control freak, that can easily turn off my emotions because my sun is Libra, my moon is Virgo, and my rising is Aquarius. So do with that what you will.
Oh yeah, my husband is actually an Aquarius moon, or an Aquarius like sun sign. And I have a few family members who are Virgos, but that's Earth, grounded. That makes sense to where it's like you are very like, you got a really good mix.
Yeah, I was determined to just kind of be this big perfectionist in a really pretty bow.
Yeah.
And, here we are. Hi.
Yes, you got everything.
Right, all of it. So let's talk about that. So we met during Ulta Hunger Games just before.
Yeah.
We
survived, obviously, for the most part. I know, like we did.
Obviously. And then, because there were managers that didn't make it through the Hunger Games.
Yeah. No, honestly.
So, yeah.
Like,
and
carrying the boxes from the drain, from the trash to the breaking down boxes, setting up everything. Like,
I found a old Tarte lipstick. I was doing kind of like a deep clean, and I found this old Tarte lipstick, and I got kind of choked up because it had a little green dot at the bottom.
Oh, and you're like, oh, it's gratis, and it's like,
yeah.
Let's make sure we're not stealing anything, so let's put our dots on the bottom of
Right. I'm like, I'm not stealing this. This was mine. I bought it.
Oh my gosh. I totally forgot about that. And like, didn't we have to have like clear bags or something? Or
clear bags?
Yeah.
Still a check, when you come out.
We're not playing around.
Oh, it wasn't one of them. Like, you weren't just gonna come in and
you
walking out with half the store
with
and then
new stuff. The amount of free stuff that you get at Ulta when you work there as a manager too, like I was like, if I wouldn't need anything extra, anything more than I had too much. I'm like, man.
Yeah, I think that was kind of like, and that era kind of like, or in that 2016 window, that was like the big, like, big glam makeup style was really trendy at that point. And I just remember like Sundays coming to work and not having on any makeup and then trying to flip it and be like, no, I'm selling skincare today.
Skincare, yeah.
Skincare Sunday.
I know. Seriously. Like,
you just get tired of it.
I know. And I honestly was not, like, I like to wear makeup, but I am more of like a hair girl. And when I say that, I mean just my hair. Like, I'm not.
Like a stylist.
Hair. I was in like the midst of my like natural hair journey, like trying to get my hair right. So like that was what I was all about. So like having to put on makeup and stuff too, I'm just like, that's not my forte. But it was nice to be able to just kind of like, or I would put on some mascara, put on that, gloss, and just go in. Just be like, here.
I'd be like, well, I'm like, come on, guys, like, every day.
I know. I'm like, our skin needs to breathe. Out here.
Now, I cringe going into makeup stores now because I'm so judgy. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
like especially post COVID.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, oh, so you have testers out, but nobody's cleaning them. Yikes!
Yes. Yes. Like honestly, I couldn't. After COVID, no. I'm like, I can't. Like, I mean, I've gotten back into the point of like touching the testers and doing that stuff, but I'm just like, and now I have kids who like come and want to swipe their hands, whatever. I'm like, okay, like look, we're
And you
not gonna
have
be doing
boys.
that. I have sons, but the thing that I'm learning about sons is that I can't like it's no different. Like I mean, I feel like a girl would be just as into makeup as my sons are right now. Like they love it. And I'm like, mommy puts on makeup, I want to do it too. And I'm just like, let me just why not? Why not? Like let me, and then they want to try to put makeup on me and I'm like, it's good until they get to my eyes and I'm like, no. No more. Yeah, mommy needs to see. So yeah, but yeah, like that whole, just the whole thinking about COVID, and thinking about like the testers and all that, it's just, I'm glad we didn't have to be there during that time. Anyway.
Oh, girl, I was, because baby, like trying to monitor and limit how many people can come in the store, people with masks, and like I don't even want to think about what theft was like.
Yes, probably through the roof. Not. Yeah.
Don't want to talk about it. Don't want to think about it.
I know.
Don't want to think about the reports after the facts you have to do and all that. Like, nah, I'm good. But how do you think your time, like in the throes of the beauty industry, has influenced kind of the woman you are today?
Well, I think that I learned a lot. Like, I feel like when it came to just beauty and makeup and all that in general. So when I was younger, I wasn't allowed to wear makeup or anything. So kind of makeup was like a little demonized for me for a while. And then when I was in high school, I was able to start wearing like eyeshadow and stuff. So I always associated makeup or like saw makeup in kind of like oh, if you had to put on makeup, then you thought something of yourself. And I think that as I grew up and kind of trying to break that by my own, like that limiting belief just kind of on my own, I think working in Ulta and getting to meet so many women who love to do makeup but weren't shallow puddles, I'm like, it really exposed me to, and then also just loving makeup in general and growing to just watch YouTube videos like tutorials and all that and see all these women who are out here putting on makeup, but they actually had a brain. And I'm like, that, what a concept that we actually can look good and also have something to like of substance in our minds and be able to present ourselves in a way that's not just like, oh, all I care about is my look. So I think that being in that industry, it really kind of brought things back like full circle to where it's like, like we need to stop with the whole like, oh, if you don't wear makeup, then you're this. And if you do wear makeup, then you're that. I'm like, how about we just stop telling women what to do and
right.
the real things,
Because I feel like that happens a lot with women, whether it's makeup or clothing or career or whatever the case is, someone chooses to have children young. There's a perception about her. Someone chooses to chase their career. There's a perception about her. Yep. And it's kind of like, kind of a...
Like, where can you win? Like, where,
like a damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah. Like, where is it? The standards. It's like, we have all these standards, but like, what is the perfect woman? Like, what does she do? Because if she's staying at the house all day, just taking care of kids, and she's not applying herself. And like, if she is depending on her husband to take care of her and pay all the bills, then she's a gold digger. And it's like, okay, where are we? Come on.
Baby, speak about it.
I know.
Speak about it. Because, I mean, you can't, and that's why it's so important for women, especially young women, to be in a position to kind of define what perfection looks like for them and kind of be able to craft a world around that. There is no right or wrong way to do life as long as you're not hurting people.
Of course, yes.
But as long as you're living your life, you're not hurting anybody and you're doing the things that is making you happy. I don't see why, I feel like we're given this list when we're really young and it's like, oh, you have to go to school, you have to meet your husband, you know, you have to get married, you have to have kids in that order.
Mhm.
And somewhere in there, you have to be able to make a sustainable income by the time you're 25. Like,
Yeah.
and, and it's
Yeah, and
just
those
kind
are
of,
new rules. There's new rules every day. I'm like, back in the day when women stayed at home with the kids and all that stuff, and now it's like women have to work, but then they also stay at home, or they also have their kids and they do all this,
mhm.
or the women who now want to stay at home. And this is from personal because I actually stay at home with my kids. So after I had Jude, like I left Ulta and I never went back to work. Like I
Good for
started my,
you.
because I left Ulta when I found out that I was pregnant. I'm like, I can't be climbing these ladders like this. So I had to leave and I had to kind of give up my position because I just, safety. I'm like, I was doing the whole like the management where we were are being the merchandising manager essentially and like building up our displays and doing all that stuff. And I'm like, this is
Yeah.
quite.
I would come in the morning and Euphoria would be like in the ceiling, you guys. Like,
Yeah, I'm like
you know,
climbing
and
out in the. I'm like, oh hey Amber, how you doing?
I'm like, girl, what are you doing up there?
I
You're like,
like I'm out
oh,
here
we
looking
have
for
to
these.
hang this. We have to hang this today. And you're like, who's supposed to be helping you? You're saying we, and I just
Yeah,
see you up
we.
there.
I know. I'm like me, myself, and I know. I'm just kidding. I had a lot of help,
Yeah.
but it was definitely. I mean, it was doing something for me. But yeah, like getting to that point to where I left. Like, I mean, I left because I was pregnant with my first child, and I mean, being very lucky, was able to not have to work. So I mean, I haven't had a traditional job, and that's why you see me out here on social media because I got time now. But
Hey
I mean,
now.
let me not let me not discredit all the work that goes into being a new mom and stuff because there's a lot there. But being a stay-at-home mom and knowing what people might think of you because you stay at home and you let your husband take care of you and all that stuff, and it's like, don't get it twisted. Like I stay at home, but I'm doing a lot at home with my children, and people don't understand that staying home as a mom is not just sitting on the couch and watching soap operas. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know where people get that concept from when you think about how hard it is to literally sit in a room with a kid that's under a certain age. Even if you're watching them, you're babysitting, you can't wait to give that kid back to their parents. It's like, just think about someone having to do that, and it doesn't change. If anything, it's harder because you're their safe space. So when they're with you, they just let it all out. They're like, I'm gonna feel all my emotions. I'm gonna do all the things because I know you love me and you're gonna care and you're gonna love me
Right.
no matter what I do. So they're testing all the limits with you, and you're sitting at home and you don't have a lot of help, and that's just the reality of it. And people want to say that you're not doing enough because you're at home. Like, oh, you're gonna get a job eventually though, right? Like, you're gonna go back to work eventually, right? And I know a lot of people have that whole idea that you lose yourself in motherhood and you lose yourself when you're at home. So it's good to have a career, but there are moms who actually do enjoy being at home, and it is what it is. And I feel like that's why, going back to what you said about, excuse me, about like having to just, like be your own person and find your own path and figure out what you want to do and not care about what other people want to say about you or think about you, is just the way to go, because you're not going to please anybody. So you might as well please yourself because if you don't do that, nobody's going to be happy. So you might
Well,
as
I'll
well make
tell you
yourself
what the
happy.
old folks used to say, okay? When it comes to making your decisions and walking your own path, all right? The old folks used to say they talked about Jesus, all right? So they'll talk about you, is kind of the point
Yeah.
of that saying. So I just feel, especially with the discussion around, marriage, family, career, all things that are given to women and taught to be kind of like the upper echelon of the choices that you have to make. And, a lot of women feel shamed when they grow and they decide they don't want to get married, they don't want to have kids,
Yeah.
and they want to focus on their career, not in a way that's kind of unhealthy, but in a way to where they can provide and have the best possible life for themselves. And I don't feel that women should be shamed for that. I don't feel that women should be shamed for wanting to stay home. Like, I'm running myself ragged right now. So when I do decide to have kids, I've decided I'm having twins, by the way.
Okay.
Um,
Good for you.
so
I'm like, let's get that energy out there because
yeah, I'm claiming it. Uh, when I do decide to, hunker down and have my twins, the last thing I want to be stressed about is going back to work.
Yeah.
So I have a partner who understands that, this is what I want, but also knows me well enough to know that me not working for a long period of time isn't really isn't really going to happen as
Yeah,
much
it's
as
not you. Yeah,
yeah, as
exactly.
much as I'm like, oh my gosh, it would be so nice to be home and
Mhm.
to cook, because that's kind of one of my love languages. I love to cook
Yeah.
for my friends and my family, and so I just feel, I feel like I've always been the mom of my groups anywhere that
Mhm.
I go.
I can
So
feel that too. I'm
yeah,
like, you always got that advice just at hand and just,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm like, all right, baby, what do you need? Okay,
Yeah.
okay, let's work on it
Yes.
together.
Hmm.
But I just I don't want to feel any kind of way, especially like I had almost my midlife crisis at 25
Yeah.
because I felt,
Your
you
quarter
know,
life.
I
Quarter
just
life crisis.
I felt like I wasn't exactly where I wanted to be. I was in a career that I loved. I loved my time at Ulta.
Yeah.
I loved being in the beauty industry. I loved interacting with all of the different vendors that come in and all of the different beauty experts. I loved how transformative makeup is and
Yeah.
was at the time. I love the people that I work with for the most part.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Those
Um,
who shall not be named shall not be named. Not that we have a list. It's just personalities don't always mix in the way
yeah,
we like to.
sometimes, oil and water,
Mm-hmm.
but I love that time of my life, and yet I didn't feel very fulfilled. I didn't feel like I was doing enough for the communities,
Yeah.
that have served me. I didn't feel, I also, again, going through a breakup at that time, and
Yeah.
that, was kind of the time where I was like, oh, one week I was literally like, oh, we're getting married. And the next week I'm like, my life is falling
Yes.
apart.
Yes. Oh my god.
Which I could totally laugh
That
about now.
fast.
And
Yeah.
then, around that same time, my dad was in the hospital, like, yeah,
Yeah.
struggling with kidney failure. We didn't think he was going to make it,
Yeah.
for a little bit of stretch there. So there was that. And then shortly after that, my grandpa passed away.
Mhm.
So I just like, I felt like I just kept getting hit
The
over and
universe
over
was
and
like,
over.
yeah.
The
The universe
universe
was
pulled my
waiting for you,
card.
was telling, pushing you for that change. Like, you need to do something here, and I'm gonna make it apparent.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
So, I mean, with that though, it gave me the opportunity to really kind of find myself, because I put a lot of who I was at that time into being that person's girlfriend.
Yeah.
And, I had things that I was still doing. I was, doing my pageants and things like that. But, I felt like my personality was like, okay, I'm trying to prove that I'm a wife in this situation. And now that I just said that makes me want to vomit in my mouth.
Yeah.
Like,
You don't know
but
what you don't know, you know?
right, you live, you learn, and you grow.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I ended up going back to property management, just because the rotating schedule that comes with retail just wasn't ideal for what I was trying to do, you
Yeah.
know? And I wanted to be able to have my weekends and my nights to volunteer or, you know, give back in whatever way I could. And then I, hunkered down, did some work on my credit, paid my car off,
Yeah.
bought my first home, you know.
For you.
So I think it was,
You're getting a story that I did not hear. I'm like, this is the part that this is what it
yeah,
is.
like, but yeah, did all that, paid off my
Yeah.
car, bought my first home, um, uh, not recently, maybe in the last 2 years, secured my LLC. So I'm working on a big project with that. And every 6 months or so within my company, I've been offered a promotion since I came on board. So
Yeah.
my stock has definitely been rising. And
Yeah.
again, I have my mom, who's great, who's always been in my corner. My dad is still with us among the living.
Yeah.
He actually
Good.
came and saw me at my pageant earlier this year, his first one, crazy.
Yeah.
And, uh, I have my boyfriend who is everything I thought I wanted and everything I didn't know I needed.
Yes.
And so it's been an amazing ride. And like I said, right now I'm working on a big project with my LLC and doing this and pageantry. I'm a choreographer for 4 state
I saw that. I saw
Miss
the
USA
choreographer now. I'm like, oh.
It's crazy.
It's good, and that's the thing. Like, the universe, like, you have all of this turmoil that goes into your life, and it seems to happen at a particular time, like 25, right? It's like it's a big time, and you think like, oh, I'm gonna be here, and then all of a sudden your life is falling apart, right? But it's crazy how life falls apart, so that way you could kind of like rise above it and actually see what's truly important, and then you step into your authentic self, and then your things start to just take off, and it feels like you have always been going in the wrong direction, like trying to like hit a wall, like trying to push through the wall when you literally could have just went through the door that was open for you. You just weren't looking that way.
I wasn't looking at it. And
Yeah.
I didn't care to look at it. I was like,
Yeah.
no.
It's like, this is how I'm doing this because this is it. This is what I told myself I was going to do. So I'm doing it.
That's how powerful your mind is. And women, and when they're talking about relationships and stuff, always talk about the red flags that they didn't see, but it happens in every aspect of your life: career, home,
Yeah.
amongst your friendships and the communities that you build around yourself. There are signs, red flags, however you want to take it.
Yeah.
That's like that, and there's probably somebody telling you directly, hey love,
Yeah.
this is
What do you think? I have a question for you, because this is something that I've really been thinking about a lot, like just with my content and just stuff that I'm trying to work on myself. Like, with you were 25 and you just went through a breakup, you had a lot of turmoil. What was the thing that actually made you decide to make a shift? Like, what do you think was or do you think it was just kind of gradually you started like drifting into the right direction, or like, do you have something particular or something that you thought that kind of switched your mind? Like,
I think for me, what kind of my shift is, I realized where I was, and it was definitely my rock bottom. For other people, that's where mine was. Yeah. So I hit my bottom, and I found myself crying, and me, I'm a writer, so I'll journal for hours, and it'll do me all this good. But I felt my hand, and it was just kind of repetitive on the page day after day, and I was like, is this really me? Like, is this really like what I want to be doing with my days, with my nights? Just crying, going to events, having to put on this happy face, and then getting alone and being with myself, and I can't pull it together for myself, and so I was kind of in that headspace, and going back and forth, and then it was my community. I found myself around some folks who love me.
Yeah.
And they were like, you are so this, you are so that, you are so this, you are so that. And it was all this encouragement, and people telling me, oh, you being here means this to me, and so it's kind of like that mirror had been held up, and I felt really, really fake. Because people who interact with me regularly had all these great things to say, and meanwhile I'm literally in bed with the cover pulled over my head, in shambles, at the exact same time.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the moment for me. I was like, you know what? I'm less of myself than I've ever been, and I don't want to stay here. And that's kind of what made me kick into gear. It was like, I'm not going to be broken over a man. I'm not going to be broken over age.
Like, just going back to
you know,
Like what?
like, excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be broken over, career or whatever the situation is. I win. When I show up, I win. When I'm 100% myself, I win. And I want to win. Insert Virgo, insert Libra, insert
Yes,
Aquarius.
I know. I was literally thinking, I'm like, you got that energy and you look good doing it too. So,
period. So I was just kind of like, I have to pull myself up, and to the outside world, everything was fine. I never missed a beat. But this is this kind of internal battle
yes.
that I had with myself. And so that was kind of it for me. I was like, all right, well, here we go.
Yeah.
Strap in.
Yeah.
And for me though, like working myself out of it, definitely a lot of journaling, a lot of meditation, just to kind of center my thoughts, because once I opened my mind, it was just kind of like, well, I have to win. All these ideas kept flooding,
Yeah.
and then I wanted to try all of them at once. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'd find myself back in a state where I was unhappy because, you know, you can't be a jack of all and a master of none. You have to, focus on one or two things at a time, and then, those things will grow and become what they are today. I have growing podcasts, growing my YouTube, working on this big project, and collaborating with a lot of other creators. And I feel tremendously blessed and excited for what's to come. And there was a point, right in the throes of all that depression, I would look ahead and I just couldn't see anything. And that's kind of the worst thing for someone like me, like someone who's a dreamer and has all these ideas, because when you can't see anything ahead, it's just a void. Like that's terrifying for somebody like me. I have to be able to see the goal, and when I can't, I feel completely off track. So that was me seeking my balance, and I'm so grateful for that time.
You're glowing. You really
like I'm so grateful for that time, and it was the worst I had ever felt emotionally, and still having to show up for others, because by that point I still had a lot of people who relied on me emotionally, when it comes to energy and positivity and just kind of helping them find their message. And meanwhile, I'm in the shadows, like
you just have to be big. You have to be big for them, but when you're by yourself, you can't really be big for yourself. And it's like you get to the points where you don't feel like we neglect ourselves in that way, to where we have to be big for other people because we know other people are depending on us, but we don't take that. We don't have that same energy with what we're depending on from ourselves. We honestly, if we think about it, a lot of us don't feel like we can depend on ourselves. Like we set up, oh, I'm gonna wake up early, start waking up early, whatever, and then it's easy to just let it slide when it's you. But you would never say, I'm gonna go pick you up at 6 and then not be there. Right. So it's like, you have to understand that you are worthy and deserving of being a priority in your life. And sometimes you got to be the top priority. And I know that's a whole other story about how, oh, well, I can't just put myself before everybody else. But it's like, nobody tells us that we can. Everybody wants us to feel, or like so many people want us to feel like it's selfish to put ourselves first. But what happens if your cup is empty and you're still trying to pour? You're pouring negative stuff. Like you're just pouring, like you don't have anything to pour, but you're still trying to do everything for everyone else, and just like running yourself dry, like just wringing yourself out until you are depressed in your bed, under your covers, in shambles. Yeah. And like, what am I doing here? Like
just like a shadow of yourself, and you have to find it for you. People around you can tell you, if you let them see that side of you, they'll be like, oh, I've noticed a change in you, and da. But I mean, I don't want to get grim, but I think this is what happens, when you see big personalities that commit suicide. It's like they know they have to show up. They know they have to be big for everybody. And they know that, a lot of times in the few instances that I did tell people I was sad, people would be like, but you're Amber. Like, Amber doesn't get sad. And I'm like, Okay, yeah, that's
Um,
right.
yeah, and you're like, okay, yeah, and you just feel like you feel misunderstood, and then that kind of creates a separation too, because you feel like you don't have anyone that can see you, like
Right,
that can actually see you for what's really going on and seeing behind the masks that you're putting up, because you have all these personas. You're putting up masks, like wearing masks for everyone, but you can't really take your mask off, because if you do, people are like, oh, that's not you. When in reality, it's like, this is me right now.
right.
And that is honestly, you mentioned shadow, and like looking into your shadow and doing all that stuff, like shadow work
Mm-hmm.
is something that I uncovered during my rock bottom, because for us to be where we are today and like be able to talk and have this like energy, we had a rock bottom. And that's one thing that I'm noticing. All those people who are out there like getting it, making life happen, most of them had a rock bottom, and people just assume like, oh, you're always like that. Oh, you're just Amber. Amber's never sad. It's like, no, Amber's sad. Amber pulled her way out of it, and
And
now
did.
Amber's thriving. Amber did not get handed all of this.
That's
Amber worked
work.
hard on herself to get there, and working on your shadow and like those things that you feel ashamed of, like being ashamed of your sadness, like you looking at it and accepting it, and then working through it, like that's where you become your authentic self. Like that's where all that work happens, because you're sitting there and you're accepting yourself, and you're knowing, like you're letting yourself love yourself even though you're going through all those feelings. And that's it. Like that's the switch that needs to be flicked on. Like I still love myself even in my darkest moments, because I deserve love. Like why wouldn't I deserve love just because I'm having a bad day? Like, and if you can't get that love from other people because they don't want to deal with you, that's when it's time for you to deal with yourself and say, it doesn't matter. I'm good, and I can love myself today even though I feel horrible. But I know tomorrow I'm going to love myself again, and I'm going to love myself again until that love pulls me out. And,
And
people look for.
it's one of those things that I found, like just kind of in this adventure called life. It's one of those things that I found it's like so hard for a lot of people to say what you said just a second ago is I love me even in the midst of my darkness. I love me. I love who I am. And especially in such a world right now, I don't know what the obsession is with everybody wanting to look exactly like each other. But
Exactly, like all these trends.
it's crazy. I think it's going to be like we're going to end up like the people on Wally,
Mhm.
like all like gummy people, like, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh,
chasing the new chasing the new trend all the time. And there's nothing wrong with being trendy or wanting to be trendy. It's just that like we got to take a step and like look inside of ourselves, because you end up getting so far in your life pretending to be someone else that there's always something that blocks you to where you have to turn into your authentic self. You have to open yourself up to being authentic. You have to drop the game, stop playing around, and actually be yourself. And that's what a lot of people don't know who they are. Like they don't know what happens and who they are when everything is washed away from them. Like your situation with all those things that were stripped away, and you feel like, who am I? Like I'm nothing. And that's how I felt with me turning 30, and my mom had passed away like a few months after my son was born. So I had this whole idea of like what my life was going to be like, and having Jude, my first son, and all this stuff, and then everything just kind of being wiped away from me, and me feeling like, okay, I don't know what's happening, but like the very same story, I had to show up for everybody else during this like really crazy period in life that we literally never anticipated happening. And I had to show up and be like the big sister, because I'm the oldest of 5 siblings, and I was like the rock for my mom. And obviously with my mom not being there, like I had to be the rock for everyone else, and me putting myself to the side to be there for everyone, eventually that gets old, and you start telling yourself like, okay, like who's worrying about you, like
right.
who's thinking about you, because everybody else, like they have their own stuff. And if you're focused so much on their stuff but you have your own stuff, it's hard for you to focus on yourself first, because that whole thought of it's okay, I need to be there for everybody else, like I don't need to worry about myself, or like, oh, I need to like not be selfish and not think about me. I need to think about everybody else who needs me right now. And it's like, you need you too. Like, you need you too. And you are literally the one who knows you and who can help you through that, everything that you're going through. It's not going to come from an external source. Like, you can only find happiness in something for so long until everything is gone again. Like, you start losing that feeling of like, oh, this is making me happy. It's just dopamine. Like, and once all that is gone and it's dry, you're here with you again. And
Right.
how are you going to feel about that? And that's where it is. Like, you have to understand, how can I become the best version of myself without all this extra stuff, without the like waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, without the like having a super cute wardrobe, without me like being on social media and like having all these people who love my content. Like, who am I going to be if I don't have anything? Don't have my looks, don't have my beauty, don't have my health, don't have anything. Like, how can you actually get to the point where you still love yourself when all that is stripped away? And once you find that, and I mean, it's not like it's easy, but once you get to that point to where you know that you yourself are worthy of love, especially from you, when you don't have anything to give to anyone else, like, that's it. Like, that's where you
that's true. That's so special. And then, you know, so you had your rock bottom moment, and then whilst you kind of picked up the supermom mantle, so you're trying to ensure that your siblings are okay, and just had a newborn, and you know, the support that you have to give to your husband in your home, even whilst going through all of this. What were some of the tools that you used to kind of pick yourself up? Did you journal? Did you see a therapist? Like, what was it that kind of, what exercises kind of helped you get back to yourself?
Yeah, well, I think, well, initially, so I ended up moving closer to my family. We all moved together to be together after everything happened with my mom. And I started to kind of like dip into that darkness when we moved back to Washington, and I was kind of on my own because I was able to just feel myself. Like, I was sitting by myself with my son, of course, and just got to feel all that. And once I understood how I was feeling and not just pushing it all out and not thinking about myself and just suppressing me to be everything else, like, I first had to feel it. And like, once I allowed myself to truly feel, that was honestly my very first step, because once I knew how I was really feeling, I was able to kind of understand where I need to start as far as, okay, like, this is how you really feel. And I definitely journaled, for sure. And then I started to just ask myself a lot of questions. And I mentioned shadow work earlier, and that's where that came in, because I never really talked to anyone about anything. Like, I wasn't really able to kind of communicate growing up, like communicate my emotions or even like what I was going through. Like, I felt like I wasn't able to really express myself. So I started expressing myself to myself, you know, and asking myself those hard questions of like, why? Like, why do you feel this way? Why do you feel like you're not worthy? Why do you feel like guilt? I felt immense guilt about being a grieving mom to my child, like with my child. I felt like I was not showing up for him, and I wasn't being a good mom. I wasn't being that like version of the perfect mom that, you know, we all have in our mind until we become a mom. We realize it's not what they say it is.
Right.
I don't think anyone remembers when like you see your mom like thriving and everything, and you're like, oh, what was it like? And you're like, oh, it was so cute, you were so little and all this. And like that, all like what it really is like to have a newborn, that just, you don't have that true sense, I guess, maybe unless you have like trauma that happens, because I remember what it was like. But I felt like most people, they're just like, oh, it's such a beautiful experience. And it's just like, no, you are in the trenches. And if you and
Day
that,
in and day out.
yeah, so I'm like, you're in the trenches. And if you are struggling with like your mental situation, because I had postpartum anxiety after I had my son too, and this was before my mom passed away, but like I literally was struggling with that too. And I'm just like, why? Like, my anxiety went away when I was pregnant, and that was like such a blessing, because I had struggled with anxiety for a long time and panic attacks. And it just went away when I was pregnant. I mean, I was like, the chemicals, whatever's happening right now, it's making me feel good. So I felt good, but then after I had my son, like those chemicals went away. So
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
So I had really, really bad panic attacks when I was in school, like when I was in high school. And again, it was just kind of that perfectionist in me. I would stress myself out, about whatever was going on. So, between cheerleading and ASB and everything else that I had signed up for, like I just had this idea, that I was going to be everything all at once, the cheerleader, the class president, the this, the that. And I wanted to check all these boxes from my high school experience.
Yeah.
And when I tell you, come senior year, I would have panic attacks until I passed out. Like I would black out.
Yeah.
And and of course, this is all undiagnosed,
Yeah.
So, I'm not in tune enough to seek help. And then in my adult life, going into the workforce and everything, I did not have panic attacks. In the throes of everything that was going on for that, year span of time.
Yeah.
Baby, I was having some of the worst, most intense panic attacks, and it'd be things that would just kind of like wash over me, like things that I hadn't thought about in years would just wash over me, and I would just find myself, just going through all of it all over again. And through journaling and I want to go to therapy. I've never actually been to therapy.
Yeah.
And I want to go, but here's the thing about therapy that I've heard. You know, when you're talking and you're recounting, you're going to feel a lot of that again. It's going to come to the surface.
Yeah.
And even if you've done all of the shadow work, even if you're present and confident in who you are, revisiting these things can kick things up all over again.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that.
Yeah, you're just like, move past and just, like, I think that, because that's exactly what happened to me too. Like when I moved back to Washington after having my son and just kind of was in that pit, that's exactly what happened to me too. Like my panic attacks, they were like severe, so bad. I would have multiple panic attacks in the day. I would call my husband and like have to like hear him talking to me to like calm me down. And I was with my son who wasn't even a year yet, or maybe he had just turned a year. And I was just like, going through it. Like if you saying all that stuff, just imagine that
with the baby, with the toddler.
And it's crazy because like that was probably around, like we were probably going through this at around the same time, because like 25, like I mean you had just left Ulta, I had just left, and we were probably going through the trenches at the if we would have known then.
Yeah, we could have been panicking on the phone together.
Help me.
Is it your turn or my turn?
I know. Oh my God. But yeah, like that's true. Like having to confront those things, that's what's hard. And that's honestly what I did. Like I didn't do that then, but like maybe a year ago, because I've been on this journey for a long time, and I feel like me just kind of becoming like knowing that it's working, and me learning more and more about myself and understanding like the stuff that I had suppressed. Because you think about the surface level, like what's happening in the moment. And a lot of people think like, okay, this is what's happening to me, this is how I'm going to solve it. But the thing is, like, you can notice patterns in your life. And when you start noticing patterns, then that's when you start understanding, like, maybe it's not what's at hand. Like, maybe it's deeper. Like, you think about, like, partnerships. Like, you get into a relationship, and this person treats you just like the last person. And you're like, why do I keep on picking all these men that don't treat me right, or women that don't treat me right? And it's like, oh, maybe it's me. But people don't want to, and that's another thing, taking responsibility. People don't want to look into that. Like, maybe it's me. Like, maybe I am choosing this because of something that, like a story, something that's conditioned into my mind that I need to work on and work through because I deserve more than this. But we only get what we think we deserve, and we think we deserve the world, but what do we feel like we deserve? Because I think that what we're conditioned to think and like what we consciously want are two different things. And that's why going deeper, and I mean, if you can do it with a therapist, like that's great and all of that, but going deeper in general is something that can truly help you thrive, because yeah, you feel that in the moment, you feel the same feelings and the things that you're trying to run away from, but once you feel it and you feel it again and you're in a different place, you're able to kind of understand that, okay, this did happen, but it was one period in time. Yeah. And let me figure out how I can actually go through this experience in my mind, but play it out in a different way. Like react to it in a different way and know that I'm going to survive it. Because that's panic. That's panic is like, I'm not going to survive this.
I'm not like, I can't move because this isn't happening the way that I envisioned it. And yeah. I'm now in fear that because it's not going in this way, it's going to be so detrimental to my health to move forward. Like yeah. That's kind of like the fear that comes in.
Yeah.
I think something that you said was just kind of like that fear of looking inward. I look in first, because if I find myself with an attitude about something or about to go off about something, I need confirmation that I'm not crazy and that I'm not overreacting.
Yeah.
I will call my mother.
Mm-hmm.
Hey girl,
no.
Love you. So here's what happened. Here's what's going on.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, like
if my mom says I'm not wrong, baby,
mm-hmm.
whoever's on the other end is about to feel the wholeness of my wrath, because my mom just confirmed that I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Okay? Or like, you know, I know people do that with their best friend and stuff.
Yeah.
Best friend, am I wrong? Am I wrong? Because I'll get multiple opinions. I think for me, I feel fortunate that I've been able to, you know, kind of work through these things on my own. You know, find the tools that work best for me. You know, for me, exercise is a big part of keeping myself balanced. So, you know, and since I was already doing that, I started posting it. And so that's why, you know, you see me on my bike 3 times a week, which I had to post on Instagram earlier because I'm trying to stay accountable. I want everybody to know the truth.
Yeah.
But, hey, I was not getting on that bike today. I had the most intense leg day yesterday that I've ever had. And standing up and sitting down right now is a real truth.
I'm like, you're gonna have to roll off that couch.
Honey, I had to put this on because of buttons. Like I didn't have to put it over my head or pull it up.
Yeah. Oh my God.
This was strategic. Okay. But I think it just kind of, it says a lot, you know, to be talking to you now and just to kind of see what was kind of going on in your life, and at the same time realize that, you know, I was going through my drama too, and I just love that we're here and we're able to talk about it, and you know, we're able to kind of not compare, because this isn't a race or a competition, but it's just kind of nice to hear that somebody else was kind of going through the same thing. And I hope that when I post this, it's as powerful for somebody else, you know, who's going through something similar. But I will say, folks, if you cannot, this is my little disclaimer for, you know, what we've been talking about today. If you cannot pick yourself up, and if you cannot find something that kind of works for you, whether it's journaling or exercising or any other shadow work, if you simply can't, do seek help.
Yeah, of course.
And, you know, talk to someone, reach out to someone who sincerely and genuinely cares about you, and, you know, do whatever it takes to get yourself well, because Euphoria and I are both living testimonies of what it's like to kind of get to the other side of that.
Be on the other side. Yeah. And the other side isn't about being perfect. The other side isn't about not having these emotions. The other side is about being self-aware. Like you talked about, am I crazy or not? Being self-aware to know when you're being crazy, when you're not. Being able to regulate yourself and regulate your triggers, which is another thing, regulating and being able to understand that everything you think is not real. Like, you can have a lot of thoughts about yourself, but that does not mean that they're real. So understanding that you're going to say a lot of rude and mean and disrespectful things to yourself, but that's just because that's what you've been conditioned to. That's how you've been conditioned to treat yourself. So that doesn't mean it's real. It's just how you feel like you can talk to yourself at that time. So like really working on that, your relationship with yourself at the end of the day, and knowing that if you can't do it alone, there is someone that's out there that's willing to help you, because you are deserving of help, and you can get help and you can feel good, and there's nothing wrong with you if you can't pull yourself out. Like,
And
really.
that's true. That is so true. There is nothing wrong. And sometimes, you have to be in that dark space in order to recognize where you were and to see where you're going.
Yeah.
So, you don't have to shy away from it. As you can see, Euphoria and I, who've known each other for years, we've been, spying on each other on the social networks.
Yeah, exactly.
Keeping tabs, checking in from time to time.
Yeah.
And, in the throes of some of the happiest moments of Euphoria's life, having children, she was going through emotional battles within that nobody else probably at that time, she probably didn't understand, and me on this accelerated track, getting all these things checked off my list for what I wanted to do, and still going through my own bouts with depression and struggling, with myself internally. So just don't shy away from it. You don't have to hide it. There are people, places, resources that can help you, and there's no shame in being sad. There's no shame in being depressed. There's no shame in struggle, because there's so much light on the other side of that. So I want to make sure that we both have the opportunity to say that while we're kiki and cackling about.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's the truth. And like, let's talk about social media for a second, because we both are on social media, and I know that you have heard, and I also agree that, everything is a highlight reel, like you're not checking it. And I feel like a lot of people think about it in like kind of a deceptive kind of way, like, oh, you're just like showing all the good things because of whatever. Like, but the thing is, I feel like it's hard. It's hard to talk about the bad stuff. So sometimes you show your highlight reel to maybe affirm to yourself that not everything is bad. And right. I think that when we all kind of look at this highlight reel, we start thinking that I have a lot of stuff in my life that's not good, but all I'm seeing is like these other people winning and like doing it big and like getting through things. And I feel like I can't right now. And it's important to understand that, first off, you don't compare yourself to other people, because everyone is going on an individual journey, and this is your journey, and this is where you're at right now. But this isn't where you're supposed to be. You're not supposed to stay here. Every time, like literally when you're dead, like that's the end, okay? So when you're up and you're awake and you're going through something, everything is moving. We are constantly moving. We are moving. We're not moving backwards. Like, our mind may be in the past, but we're always moving forward. Every day is a new day. So you get to choose where you want to be and what you want to do. And you cannot compare yourself to other people, because you comparing yourself to other people is trying to put yourself on somebody else's track. Like, you have a journey, and if you're following that journey and you're getting through every single day and becoming better, however that looks to you every single day, you're going to get what it is that you want. And if you feel like you don't know what you want, then just be on the ride. Like, figure it out. Figure out what it is once you get there. But just be on the ride. Literally, living is enough. Like, I have thought a lot about purpose. Like, what is our purpose? What is my life purpose? And I have come to the conclusion, and this is my own opinion, but I've come to the conclusion that our life is literally, the purpose is just to live. Like, it's a game. Like, it's literally a game. We are in a simulation. We are on this earth. We're supposed to be having fun. We're supposed to be making connections. We're supposed to be living it up and getting what we want and doing all this stuff to have the fullest life ever. No requirements required. if you don't want to be a mom, if you don't want to have a job, like if you don't, whatever. I mean, I'm getting a little crazy, like with the no job thing, but but like if you literally want to be someone that just lives on the beach and like do that, think about what makes you happy and stop thinking that you need other people's lives to make you happy. Like you can literally stop everything. You can stop thinking about what other people want from you. You can stop putting all this pressure on yourself, and you can truly ask yourself, what do I want to be happy? And start working towards that. And that's enough. If today you getting out of bed and taking a shower is what's going to make you feel happy, then you go do that and you start there. And there's nothing wrong with that. Tomorrow you'll think of something to add on to that, and you'll keep on going from there. But your life is meant for you to live. So just live it. That's it. That's your only requirement.
I definitely agree. I think we think too hard about, what's going to look good, and
Yeah.
I certainly have a love-hate relationship with social media, because right now I feel like we're in this era where everybody wants to look the same,
Yeah.
and everybody wants to like live the same life. And granted, we've always as people been obsessed with how the other half lives, or whatever the case may be. I mean, I know growing up I was watching lifestyles of the rich and famous.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
Yeah. So I think the pros and cons of social media are kind of like, even in pageants, I'll say this. So in pageants, for example, I think the influence of social media and, whatever trends are happening influence pageants in a negative way, because now you get to an international pageant and all of the women look like they could be, the same kind of Eurocentric Instagram model. Whereas, in the past, it was all about showcasing the most beautiful people from your country, and I'm not here to knock plastic surgery, because baby, if you want it, get it.
Yeah, exactly. If it's gonna make you
However,
happy, yes.
you have to want it. Don't get it because you think it's going to get you ahead. Get it because you want it, because down the line, you'll realize that you did this thing to your body, whether it's reversible or irreversible. And,
that ship to sell, that beauty standard has sold, because if we look in history, we literally see all the different bodies that have been like praised. And it's like, you go and you get your BBL, and the BBL is definitely not, it's not trending like it used to be. Just that in general. I'm like,
it's so hard for ya.
I'm like, just wait for your time to come, like.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people, like, there are plenty of people out there who have struggled and who are very honest about the plastic surgery. Like, I have a lot of respect for somebody like Cardi B, right?
Yeah.
Who's like, I didn't get plastic surgery because I'm insecure. I got my nose done because I didn't like my nose.
Yeah,
I got my teeth done because I didn't like my teeth.
Great. Yes.
Good on you. I appreciate that. But then you have a certain family who gets regular plastic surgery.
Depending on the time of day, depending on the season.
They're not forthcoming about it. And then they influence a whole generation of girls who are like, oh, when I turn 18, my lips are going to pop out, and then I'm going to have a perfect Jessica Rabbit shape. And it's just kind of like, that's not
funny. But that's why I need to say that to you, Amber, because you, like, being in pageantry and all that, like, I know for a fact that you are out here breaking certain stereotypes, certain standards, and that's really, that's great. Like, I feel like that's something that we need to see. Like, seeing you walking that stage, like, think about how many girls are literally going to have this dream now and know that it can be attained. They're not going to be sitting here like, oh, I wish I looked like her so I could be a pageant girl, or I wish I could look like her, so whatever. So, like, that's huge. Like, that's a huge thing. And I know that's your instinct when you're doing this stuff.
I love it. Because I remember being little and watching pageants with my grandmother, and, thinking it could never be me, because I'm looking around at the women in my family, and none of us look like that.
Yeah.
None of us look like that. And I've told the story multiple times, but when I was first getting into pageantry, I was you know, drinking a ton of water, only eating baked chicken and vegetables. I was working out twice a day trying to cut weight. Um, and I finally went to the doctor, like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And I like pulled up a picture. It was, of course, like Tyra Banks from Naomi Campbell,
Yes.
like whatever. I was like, I'm getting ready for a pageant, and I'm trying to do this here,
Be like
you
this.
know. And I'm probably like dress size 12 at this point. And my doctor goes, Amber, does anybody in your family look like that? And I was like, what's that got to do with me?
Yeah.
Like, what's that got to do with me? She was like, you're going to be able to, she was like, you can lose weight. She was like, it's going to take some time. You can definitely lose the weight. We can work with the nutritionist, blah, blah, blah. But you need to have realistic goals in mind. Like, who are you trying to look like? If no one in your family on either side is that thin, you know, or that tall, or, you know, whatever the case is, you know, you trying to achieve those goals naturally may not be for you. And the way it all just kind of clicked for me in that moment. You know, granted, my doctor was not saying give up or, you know, be unhealthy or anything like that. She was just saying, you know, you can live a healthy life and everything like that, but don't make that your goal. Make being your best self your goal. And after that conversation, you know, I took that with me, and I thought about pageantry and the things that I wanted to achieve. You know, when I initially started pageants, I wanted to honor my grandmother who had long since passed, but she's somebody I carry with me every day, and it's a memory that I share watching pageants with her. And I also wanted to be a positive influence for little Black girls, you know?
Yes.
Especially living here in Washington. I mean, up until that point, I hadn't seen very many African American, dark skin, brown skin, whatever you want to call me, queens from, you know, that time. And so I was just kind of like, I want to see this for us. And when I have daughters, I want them to see the same. Like, I want to see them achieving at this high level. So, it's 11:11. Time to make a wish.
11:11.
Yeah. Hey.
I'm glad I saw it. I look for it every day.
Yeah. Oh, I stole that from Carlene. I have an alarm set.
Oh, really?
But yeah. So it's just kind of like one of those things that's super important to me is to always be that active influence. So success doesn't look one way. Beauty queens certainly don't look one way. And being comfortable in my own skin, if that's the one thing that I need to do in order to see the next generation of curvy, brown skin, dark skin, you know, I want to see more Pacific Islander women competing in these pageants. I want to see you know, there'll never be enough Black girls for me. So, you know, like, I want to see this thing happen, and I want to see them go on and thrive and be comfortable in their own skin, you know, and the pageant world, it's brutal. You know, some of these girls are naturally thin. Some of these girls spend that time in the gym, they work hard, but some of these girls are hurting themselves to maintain this really small body image, which is the direct contrast to the body type that's trendy right now. Like, there's a very curvy body type that's in the forefront, you know? And then you sprinkle, you know, these women want to transition into film and movies, you know, where they need kind of, even more so, it's being pushed that you need that traditional model-esque body type for those roles. So it's just kind of like, everything I do is to break that glass ceiling. You know, I am a proud size 14, 16, 200-pound woman. I am healthy. When I go to the doctor, I don't have any concerns or worries. I exercise because it makes me feel good, not because I'm chasing a goal. I love the way that I look. If that sounds conceited, I'm not sorry.
No.
And when I go and I have like my big photo shoots, I tell photographers all the time, especially if it's my first time working with them, I'm like, look, now this is my granddaddy's nose.
Yes.
See this? And when I get my pictures back, I want to be able to recognize my granddaddy's nose.
Yeah.
In that picture, this is This is my grandpa's. All right. I want to see it when I get it back. You can change almost anything else on my face. Just don't change that. Or like people will ask me how I want my body edited. And I'm like, well, I mean, I don't really.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I like what I have. I like where my stretch marks and my tattoos are. Like, you know, I love this, and I love the idea that one day my twins are gonna see that. See, I keep
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's not gonna happen if you don't feel like it already happened. Okay.
I want my twins to look back at the pictures and actually be able to recognize me. Like, you know, and be like, oh yeah, that's mom, you know, and yeah, it just makes me happy. And then again, I like my boyfriend is so supportive because sometimes I go there. So I'm not gonna lie, like it takes a lot of work to maintain a love for a body that isn't exactly the standard of beauty.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes I go there, I'm like, oh, maybe I could, you know, lose a little around the middle, you know, just do a little something. And he'll be like, are you kidding me? Why? And I'll be like, but having that, you know, having somebody there in your corner when you start to slip, who will speak life back into you, baby, there's nothing like it. I wish I'd have known that a lot sooner.
I know, and it's a lifelong, like, I feel like it is a lifelong journey because our bodies, especially women's bodies, like, we're changing, like, being in our 30s now, like, happy belated birthday, by the way. Welcome to the club. But
Big 3-1.
Yeah, I'm like, no, we weren't in our 30s when we saw each other last, so we're both
Nope.
But having a body that's constantly changing, especially as we age too, and then we got all this stuff that's also changing. I mean, I got white in me, and you know what they say about, but you know, so I'm like, I'm starting to see the cracks a little bit early.
No, your other half, those genes are gonna
I know, I'm like, but you know, my black genes they're strong, but still.
I just saw a conversation about that, like the term "black don't crack." I think there's a documentary on Netflix, and people are talking about it. And,
I think I was gonna watch that the other day. It's like it's something about the black women in the beauty industry or something like that. I was about to start that, but I had to do something else. But
it's on my list. I haven't seen it. But there was one clip online, and they were just kind of like, y'all, wear SPF. For the love of God, wear SPF.
Yes, please.
And I was like, I remember growing up, I'm ashamed, but growing up, I was convinced black people couldn't get sunburned.
Yeah.
You know, people would be like, oh, do you want some sunscreen?
You're like, look at me.
Like sunscreen.
My husband is like that too. It's just that toxic behavior. I'm like,
I mean, yeah, it's terrible. And in the same vein, different drug, same vein. I remember going to the tanning place by Ulta, by the store.
Oh yeah.
And I walked in there, and and they were like,
"What are you doing?"
Yeah, they were like, "Hi." I was like, "Hi, how are you?" And
like, I'm here. How did that go for you? I know this is a tangent, but how did that go for you getting a tan as a black woman?
I didn't. I was there to do like the red light therapy.
Oh, okay. I was because I've seen people like with dark skin going and getting tans, and I didn't know. I was like, it looked really nice on them. I didn't know.
I know that there are black people who tan, who are like dealing with hyperpigmentation and like have multiple tones.
Yeah, like kind of lighter spots.
Yeah, so they'll go tan for an even tone.
Yeah.
And then I think there's this thing called, I think it's like a glow tan or something like that. And it just kind of makes you feel like a beautiful chocolate vampire because your skin is all glowy and radiant.
Yeah.
You know, like Akasha in Queen of the Damned, when she came out, she was basically golden.
Oh my gosh, that's a Halloween movie. I need to watch that, Queen of the Damned. Oh my gosh, that's been a long time.
My boyfriend just saw, it's a terrible vampire movie. You know, disclaimer. But
I know, but
not Queen of the Damned, but my boyfriend just saw Vampire in Brooklyn for the first time.
Oh my gosh.
Now
I need to watch that too for just the vibes, you know, for the nostalgia.
It's so funny, especially now being like grown, being
Yes.
in my 30s grown,
Mhm.
because like it was
And
funny
understanding
before,
the context, yeah.
but now the context, I was like, wait a minute.
I haven't seen that movie in a long time. My goal is to rewatch all those movies I watched as a kid so they can make sense on that scale, you know?
Yes.
Because we watch some movies, I'm like,
there's some
now
Disney movies I'm going back and watch. I'm gonna go back and
Mhm.
watch. They're all on my list. But okay,
Yes.
so girl, I feel like we could honestly talk all day, but
Yes.
I want to. I want to get to the meat and potatoes of this before we run too long. So,
Okay.
you just launched a new program through your social media. Let's talk about it and kind of take us through what your intentions are and what it is that you're trying to help others do through your platform.
Yes. Okay. Well, I actually am working towards helping women create the identity or essentially reinvent themselves. I'm actually playing with the term of rebranding because essentially that's kind of what it is. Like we are doing a complete rebrand on how we feel, how we think, and of course we're going to talk about all the things on the outside as well, but my main focus is internal, like that internal growth and just going inward and being able to understand why it is that we have maybe tried to get to a certain point in our life, but fall back and just we're never able to not sabotage ourselves. Like we get to a point to where, so my mission is to help women, and it started off with moms, but I feel like this is something that is much bigger than just with moms. Like we don't give ourselves permission to live fully and live in our authentic self. And I want to help give women the tools and the understanding because I myself have gone through that process and am now feeling like I'm in that place where I'm authentically myself. And I know some days it doesn't look good still, but we are authentic and we can say that and we can still give ourselves love and compassion through all that. So right now I'm actually running a self-concept challenge and it's on my TikTok. And by the end of the year, I'm hoping I have some plans for a membership that is going to be for women who are on this journey, because we spoke a lot about support, especially in your story, needing support and having that support from other people to really reflect something, and you felt like that reflection didn't match, so you matched that energy. And that's what I want to create, a space of women who are working on being authentic and having that noise just canceled by having this safe space for us to continue to build and work on ourselves internally and externally, because of course your girl loves fashion, your girl loves all this stuff that comes with it. So I want to be able to help create just a full life and help you be able to step into yourself, step into who you want to be, what habits you want to learn, like you want to gain for yourself, what style you want to have, like just the whole, just creating the best version of yourself. And yeah, like I'm excited, and I'm really excited to start that internal growth before we hit 2024, because once we get into 2024, that's when we're going to really start glowing up, you know, like really start working on ourselves. But let's get that kickstart by working on our mind right now, so we can hit those goals and not have to come back to square one, because it's tiring now. Right.
So of course I am following Euphoria on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook.
I do have Facebook, but I wouldn't.
Okay. But
we don't do things over there. TikTok, and I'm actually going to be launching my YouTube channel next month as well, so you'll get long form, so we can sit here and maybe we can do a collab on maybe we'll do a video together. I think
absolutely.
So let's try to work that.
Go down. And then of course you'll have to come back to the podcast in the new year and tell us how everything is going. But this has been so awesome, Euphoria. Oh my gosh, I really love this conversation, and I pray and hope that as people listen, they're able to kind of take it and branch off and start having their own dialogue and
Yeah.
That's what this is all about, folks. Just
Mm.
getting out there and seeing those spaces where you fit, because I'm
Yeah.
sure that something that we've said in this last hour and 20 minutes
I know, I'm like, you got
has been something that you can relate to,
yeah.
or even if you can't, maybe you've seen this kind of shift happen in your friend, and
Mm.
you can make yourself available to them to help them through their struggle. Maybe you want to start a fitness journey, or you want to go through a transformation of sorts and reinvent yourself. Baby, do it. Do
Yeah.
it. This is your life, your time to make those changes and do what you want to do. You need to mold this life to you, and don't let life mold you in the other way. So
Yeah, exactly.
I'm so happy. Thank you so much, Euphoria, for your time.
So,
And I am so thankful for everybody who joined us today on the BGE Cloud. Go forth and dominate your week.
yeah.
Until next time, bye.
Bye.